Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our November Pitchmasters workshop. I cannot believe that we are almost at Thanksgiving in 2024 and excited to be back here again today. My name is Lisa Friedlander. I'm the CRO over here at Next, powered by Shulman Rogers, and My Next Raise, our new investor readiness platform that we are super excited to launch. And I would love to introduce our partner in crime, Miranda Williamson from SeedSpot, to come on and introduce herself, and then we'll get started.
Hello, I'm Miranda Williamson. I'm the Director of Recruiting at SeedSpot. We work with underrepresented founders to get them the training, support, and resources they need to succeed.
Thank you so much, Miranda. Really appreciate your commitment and SeedSpot's commitment to Pitchmasters. For folks in the audience, welcome. Thrilled you can be here. Oftentimes listening in to other founders' pitches and feedback sort of resonates with each of you, so welcome. Since we're a small group, we'll also open it up to the room for feedback for our amazing entrepreneurs. So listen carefully. We'll call on you a little bit later if you have some feedback. Sue, welcome. Thrilled to have you back. Thrilled to see you again. I will turn it over to you. Feel free to share your screen and get started.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Let's get started.
Looks great.
I'm guessing that most of you have been to the hospital or had surgery sometime in your lifetime or have a loved one that has. What you may not realize is that healthcare professional may have accidentally injected your bloodstream with glass shard contamination. I'm Sue Carr, clinical hospital pharmacist, president and CEO of Cartech Corp, and I'm here today to make sure that never happens to you. If you've ever been to the hospital or had surgery, there's a high probability you've received medication packaged in glass samples. They're sealed containers of medicine. They're cheap, readily available, stable for a longer period of time, and tamper-proof. But there's one big problem. To access a medication, you have to snap that neck. And when you do that, over 70% of the time, glass shards will enter into the ampule and contaminate the medication. Therefore, it needs to be filtered before it can be administered to the patient. If those glass shards enter your bloodstream, it can cause internal bleeding to the lungs or stomach, or even worse. Imagine the opportunity for a mistake and the added stress in an emergency situation when every second counts. Some of the common meds still packaged are lidocaine, morphine, and every newborn receives vitamin K in a glass ampule. There's 8 complicated steps to filtering those glass shards involving multiple needles and needle exchanges. I've highlighted in red where the almost 2 million needle stick injuries happen every year, costing hospitals over $2 billion to treat. And wasted time is another $3 billion. But that all ends today with Frog, filter removal of glass. It's a simple all-in-one package, one needle filter device. I relocated the filter to the tip and placed it over a needle. Simple. Cartech has 3 U.S. patents, a Canadian patent at USPCT, and more to come in 2025. And those 8 complicated steps are eliminated. Frog is a cost-effective streamlined filter that assures no glass shards are going to enter the bloodstream, practically eliminating needle stick injuries and in half the time. The ampules are not going anywhere. They're growing actually at a CAGR of 9.9% in a $6 billion marketplace. Filter needle market opportunities at $2 billion marketplace, and just in hospitals alone in the U.S., is $500 million market opportunity. We intend to disrupt and penetrate the United States first. When Frog hits the marketplace, Cartech will have the only all-in-one package, one needle filter device in the world. The manufacturing, storage, and distribution is currently being outsourced. We're going to follow the same channels that the hospitals are using, including the GPOs, the IDNs, with a powerful sales force. We have a B2B relationship with Becton Dickinson. They've supplied the inner needles and funded human factor studies in both the US and abroad. We're currently raising a $500,000 bridge round until we're FDA approved. We've qualified 3 years in a row for Maryland tax discount, which gives our investors 50% back on their investment. That's unheard of because we're located in an opportunity zone, and that's going on right now. We were just approved yesterday. We submitted a 510K Class 2 to the FDA in February. We received feedback back, and they just want us to perform 2 more tasks, and then we should be approved early 2025 with market penetration by Q4 of 2025. We received the NSF Phase 1 for our second iteration, and we're working on a Phase 2 grant, and we anticipate launch in 2025. My amazing team includes fellow pharmacists, senior business advisors, R&D specialists, legal representation, and strategic advisors with successful exits in the medical device. And they've been there, done that. They can help. So are you ready to take the leap? Our mission is to improve safety for all. We're looking for more people who align with our mission. Join CarTech in bringing Frog to the marketplace and improving healthcare for all. And I thank you very much.
Awesome, Sue. Well done. Well done. Feel free to stop sharing and we can discuss some feedback. My apologies. Nelson, our other entrepreneur, was texting me during your whole presentation that he didn't have the right link. So my apologies. I did not get to listen as carefully as I wanted to. Miranda, will you kick us off for some feedback for Sue?
Yeah, the whole time I'm listening, first I was thinking maybe I'm a little out of practice because I honestly don't have a whole ton of feedback. I think you did a really great job in a lot of spaces. One is I didn't know that this was a problem at all. This is not, I'm someone coming from a different field. I didn't understand this being an issue. And I think you did a really good job in the beginning of explaining why this was an issue. Depending on the audience, you may want to tell a story around that. It seemed like this particular pitch was geared towards an audience who has some understanding of the field and perhaps some understanding of why this would be an issue, which even not knowing the field well, I still came in and was able to pick up, okay, here's the issue, here's the solution, and here's why this team is well situated to solve that. Also, depending on the audience, you may want to move that slide about your team up because
I thought about that, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that would have helped me not understanding the field well, understanding like, okay, these folks have a lot of expertise and they're coming to this with a lot of expertise. And now I'm going to listen to them. And now I have a little bit of a basis to understand why I'm listening to them in their area of expertise. But I'm glad that came because I made a note of it. I was like, who's this team? And then it did finally come. The one thing I guess I didn't understand that could have been clarified is what are your partnerships or ins for getting into this market? I didn't fully understand that, but I think that was the only area where I think
I guess I should have explained that we actually have hospitals and military institutions that have already requested frogs, and that would have been a big thing to talk about. It totally like left my mind, but I mean that's really exciting.
That is exciting, and I would have loved to hear about that because I could tell you had knowledge about where you were going, but then without that, like for me, that crucial piece of like who those partnerships were with, I was a little bit like, there's some piece I'm missing, but perfect. But that's my only feedback. It was really great job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Miranda. I think all of that is super valuable. Sue, I was at least able to pay enough attention to hear your cadence and your energy and your pitch, and it seemed very smooth. The slides looked really good. The only thing that I would say is that opportunity zone piece, you mentioned it, but it was very much like just kind of a afterthought. And many investors may be familiar with what that means, but many may not. So I would actually recommend sort of really doubling down on that
Yeah.
and spending, you know, whatever, a minute with a slide sort of explaining what that actually means as an investor, because
Good idea. Yeah.
it's huge I mean, it
It is.
de-risks
I
their
guess
investment like just
I've got
considerably.
150K on the queue waiting to like.
Yeah, so it's
I was
like, you
waiting
know,
for yesterday.
de-risked, understanding that this is a de-risked investment because of this piece of it. So really hammering home on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Anybody, Delorme or Paul? Delorme, I know you may not be able to chime in, so no problem. But Paul, if anybody has any feedback for Sue, feel free to chime in.
I would just say it's an unprofessional feedback giver. That
You're an entrepreneur. That
I'm an
all makes you, that
entrepreneur,
makes
right.
you a professional feedback giver.
Right, exactly. Was that the new 4-minute like
It was not, because
no?
we have a smaller group today. So I
Oh,
told
okay.
Sue she can take her time.
So how many minutes was that? I'm curious.
I did not time it.
So that's what I would, you know, because I've done the 7 minutes, and I remember I did my 7 when you were about to shift to 4.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time not talking. So I was really impressed with how much information you got out in a really short period of time, and the cadence, you know, as others have said. I agree that traction and the 100K and in the pipe and stuff like that is important. But for me, it's just good job, because that was I think a really well done example of really fitting a lot of information into a short window.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's great feedback. Yeah, love that. All right, well, Sue, thank you. That was really terrific. And good luck on the FDA clearance, and come back and keep us posted for sure.
I definitely will. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Of course. Welcome, Nelson. I'm glad you were finally able to join.
I'm sorry I missed Sue's presentation.
No worries, no
What
worries.
what was she pitching?
It's a filter removal of glass. It's called Frog. It's an all-in-one package, 1 needle filter. I have it somewhere. Here we go. And so, and I guess I should have explained this too. So this is Frog, what it looks like now. And you would filter your medication up and with your broken glass ampules. And once it's filtered and in the syringe, you could remove the outer part and lock it into an IV line and never see a needle. Or you can remove the outer cover and inject.
So when I get an injection, I get glass sometimes?
Yeah.
Oh,
When this ampule is broken, it causes glass to enter in there. And according to USP standards, it has to be filtered using a filter device.
Ooh, I never knew.
See, we learn something
Thank
every
you.
week, every month at Pitchmasters. All right, Nelson, you're up. Feel free. I'm going to make you co-host, and feel free to share your screen and get started.
Yeah. All right, we're up, huh?
I
All
can
right,
see
great.
your screen. If you can put it in presentation mode, that's even better.
Oh, presentation. I keep for. Oh, present.
Or slideshow, if you can do start up at the top, it should say slideshow.
Oh, of course, slideshow.
Yep, from the beginning.
Presentation is.
Or all the way over to the left where it says from the beginning.
There we go.
There you go. And you're off and running.
All right. So I saw a problem. I used my knowledge. I saw a problem. I used my knowledge, added my passion, found some inspiration, and eureka. I had a solution that I call airfoiling, which is you suspended like a pendulum below a cable you're rolling down, And at your feet is a wing, your airfoil, which you use your body movements to harness the powers of aerodynamics, do all kinds of wild and crazy stunts while you're zooming down the face of a mountain. Imagine a half pipe that's not 100 feet long, but 1,000 feet long. And thanks to a twist in the physics, that half pipe is 3/4, maybe a full pipe, if the conditions are right and you're really, really good at riding your airfoil. Ah, the problem. I'm afraid the climate change is not being good to skiing and snowboarding. Since the turn of the century, hundreds of ski resorts have closed. The ones that remain on average are seasons of months shorter. And according to Scientific American, by mid-century, of the 22 sites that held the Olympics, 18 of them will not be able to do so again. Now, the allure of airfoiling will be that it'll be more exciting yet safer than skiing and snowboarding. Being suspended from above, a novice will never fall on their face, thus hooking them faster. But on the other end, because of the added access of pitch to have fun with, which is the funnest of the axis, and the fact that wind will play a greater role, airfoiling will be harder to master. And that will send those that need to be the best of they can up the mountain as much as they can. And if that's not enough, not needing snow, airfoiling will be an all-season, all-climate sport. You'll be able to go airfoiling in the tropics. Now, the money will come from a combination of business, and business consumer sources. The design and construction of airfoiling runs, business. The manufacture airfoiling equipment or related equipment, business, consumer. And people being people, they're going to want to compete. So we'll just have to set a professional airfoiling circuit, business, and business consumer money stream. Now, we all know that a startup needs to address two things. It needs to address $1 billion market, and it needs to be disruptive. Well, tens of millions of people spend tens of billions of dollars every year skiing and snowboarding, and climate change is doing all the disruption foil flyer will need to grab a big old hunk of those billions with airfoiling. Currently, there are 4 gravity board sports: skiing, snowboarding, surfing, and skateboarding, all worth billions on their own. Airfoiling will be more exciting yet safer than all the others. Airfoiling will be more accessible than all but skateboarding. What that means is the participants of other gravity board sports will be naturally attracted to airfoiling because it's going to give them more adrenaline for less danger, and they'll be able to do it more often in more places, with the exception of skateboarders. Okay, so Foil Flyer needs to introduce airfoiling to the world. And for that, we need a proving ground. And an ideal proving ground would be a high point on sheltered waters in an urban environment. Here in the San Francisco Bay Area, where Foil Flyer is located, we have access to a boat with a mile of cable. There are plenty of idle cargo cranes circling the bay. For $1 million, Foil Flyer will be able to prove, perfect, showcase, market, manufacture, and sell airfoiling. My name is Nelson Hyde Chick. I'm Foil Flyer's Chief Adrenaline Officer. Come airfoiling with me, and together we can taste adrenaline's rapture. We'll tar it up. Woohoo! Well, that's it, guys.
Thank you, Nelson. Well, wow, what a very cool. What's your background? How did this come to be?
Well, I've been hang gliding for decades.
Ah, okay.
And here's a funny thing is hang gliding's great. I mean, it's a lot of fun. But the popularity of an adrenaline-inducing sport is dependent on what I'd call the adrenaline to danger ratio. Now, there are 12 million Americans that habitually ski and snowboarding. There are only 1,700 hang glider pilots in the country. And the reason being is the odds dying skiing are 1 in 1.8 million. Snowboarding is 1 in 2.2 million. I don't know why snowboarding is so much safer, but these are CDC numbers. The odds dying hang glider, 1 in 564. Those guys in the wingsuits, though, 1 in 60.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
ergo, there's not as many people. So
got it.
What? So
No, I was just going to have you stop sharing so we can dive into the feedback.
All right. Oh, we're good?
Nope,
No, we're
still see
sharing.
it.
If you just hit escape, it'll probably stop.
Oh. Yeah. Escape. Oh,
On your keyboard.
oh, yeah, I hit escape. I did hit it. All right.
All right, hold on, I think. There.
There we
did it
go.
for
Sorry
you.
about that.
I did it for you. No worries. Miranda, do you want to kick us off with some feedback for Nelson? Quite an interesting idea.
Yeah. So Nelson, I'm an adventure sports athlete myself. And I want to a couple of things. First, it took me a very long time to understand what the heck this was.
Right.
longer than it should have. I think that should have come pretty early on to like capture my attention, and understand like what I understood the problem early, but then I know the solution. I actually still don't fully understand how this works and why this is exciting and interesting. So that part, I'd love for that to be very early to come. Like this is the incredible adventure sport that's going to hit the market. And I also think you spent a lot of time on like the climate change, and I this is a question for me. I wonder if that's the best like grab. I wonder if it's the sport itself that's a little more appealing. Like folks are interested in new sports, new adventure sports. Maybe the climate change is like just more of like a, and with climate change, this is going to continue to be more and more accessible. It's that you spent like a lot of time on climate change and coming back to climate change. And I just wonder if that's like the most compelling thing about your sport that you're developing. And then I would love to have had your introduction very much earlier as well. So introduce the rad new sport introduction, and then go into the meat of the presentation. My next piece of advice is there was no consistent or cohesive branding throughout your slides. There were a lot of different colors used, different fonts, different types of images. I'd love to see a more cohesive, consistent branding that sort of blended them all together. Okay.
Well, the reason I introduced my last is like I've listened to a bunch of pitches, right? And it's always, hey, I'm Joe so and this is, and I always thought to myself, my God, it's like I don't care who you are till you tell me something that interests me.
Yeah, that's why I think you should do. You should introduce the sport, the vision, then yourself, then you can go into the rest of it. Because I did keep wondering, like, who is Nelson to be pitching this to me? Like, what is the inspiration behind this? And that honestly didn't even, I don't even, when you introduced yourself at the end, I still didn't feel like I knew you. And I would have liked to know who you were a little bit sooner. So I understood why I was listening to you.
All right. Thank you.
Great. I think that's great feedback. I actually agree with everything that Miranda was saying. I originally thought you were the big giant pole thing that was coming off of the board. I thought maybe you were suspended from, I thought you were suspended from like an airplane, or it was like a different, I thought you were suspended from something for almost your entire thing. So I didn't really understand. I agree with Miranda. I didn't really understand what it was. The pole thing looks huge and gigantic and unwieldy. Like, how is this going to be a new way of snowboarding if you have this giant thing sticking up? I didn't get
Well,
it.
it acts
I
like a
didn't
mask,
get it.
like a windsurfer kind of.
But it looks huge, Nelson. Like, how am I going to pack up that board and take it with me to the mountains, or put it on top of my car, or I don't know. I liked you started with a little bit of enthusiasm, and obviously it's a new cool thing. I think your road is going to be cut out for you, both in terms of education as well as sort of you're introducing something brand new, which is always a challenge. I don't know how many people in the world, are adrenaline junkies. That would be nice to know. I'm sure it's a nice size market, sort of nationally and globally, for people who do like these kind of sports, whether it's skateboarders. I don't know where you are. You mentioned a little bit in terms of your prototype in San Francisco Bay, but does that mean you're on water? But this is on land. It was very confusing to me. And while I got maybe a 20% picture of what it was that you were trying to do, that was kind of it. And I got even less of a picture of how you were going to get from ideation, like a prototype, and get people out there testing and in trying it? Have you been on ski mountains? Have you done some customer discovery? Have you talked to your target market at all to see if this is something they would even be interested in, given what the actual board would look like from a physical, product perspective? So I think it's really cool and interesting and innovative, and maybe has a huge potential. I think your pitch can better reflect either where you are or what you need to do and sort of get a little bit closer. I don't think you're anywhere near raising $1 million unless maybe you find a high net worth individual who is an adrenaline junkie and sees this and is like, wow, that kind of thing. But in terms of a storytelling for the pitch, I agree with everything Miranda said, and I'm just sort of adding sort of some of my own thoughts. I think the story you're telling could be better and more interesting, and certainly a little clearer in terms of what it is you're actually trying to do.
Yeah, what is the sport? What are you doing when you're on that board? Are you doing flips like on a snowboard? Or are you going quickly like on skis? Like, that was always very unclear.
Well, I did try to use the line, use the powers of aerodynamics, do all kinds of wild and crazy stunts while you're zooming down the face of a mountain. But yeah, it's
Well, I'll open it up to the group. I don't know, Paul, Sue, feel free to chime in if maybe you guys had different reactions. So feel free to always disagree and offer different vantage points for Nelson.
Yeah, I made some notes. So, I'm of the age now where I don't need the adrenaline aspect, just trying to ski down a mountain, is enough for me. But anyway, it's interesting. But like one thing, and this is a stupid thing, maybe, in the beginning, you were giving some kind of stats, I think, about the global warming or ski resorts declining or something. And you mentioned that by mid-century, again, this is a stupid little thing. It'll be a little broader afterwards. But to me, it's like, okay, now I have to think like mid-century. Okay, and I'm always like, wait, is that the 2000s? Is that 1900? That's 2050, which is also 25 years from now. Just personally, again, this is a stupid little thing. I would just say within 25 years or by 2050, I'm a keep it simple, stupid guy. Anyway, but what I didn't understand, and I agree, I had no idea kind of really what the product was and how it operates. When you were talking about skiing and this bent, pole kind of behind the person almost looked like you were attached to a chairlift, on a ski resort. And I'm like, okay, is there like, and then I'm seeing a drawing. It's like there's a straight thing. Is that like a propeller or what is that? Is it an airfoil? I don't know. And if there was either a video, it looks like maybe you have, I don't know if you have product in production or samples. I saw, what looked like kind of like a factory, quote unquote, with laying up some fiberglass or something. So I don't know if there's actually a product that you can take a picture of or, or actually video, or if that doesn't exist, if maybe you could do a small animation, that would show what somebody is doing. Because again, is it, can you use it going down a bare slope? Does there have to be snow on it anyway? Does it require snow, not snow? And then when you said the testing ground is over water in the bay, then I'm like totally sort of confused. But one thing, that's not there was like that I don't recall any mention of a team. So is it just you? And again, if it's just you, then kind of your qualifications and whatever, probably should have been a little more spoken. So, and then a question is, again, because I don't know if it's pre-production or post-production, are there any kind of orders or interests of people that, have said they're going to buy it, even like a Kickstarter thing or something like that. And I didn't really know, and I agree with the whole global warming thing. I mean, is that a problem. I mean, what's that mean? People can't ski as much because ski resorts are closing. There's not enough snow. This doesn't need snow. Again, I don't know that that's a big tie-in. And I think it might just be like, this is the coolest, latest, like you had that sort of hierarchy of, you know, monkey to
Yeah.
skier to this, to that, to your product. It's like, it's more like this is an revolutionary latest thing. This is the you know, the next step after skiing or something like that.
Thanks, Paul. That's great, Paul.
Yeah, that's
Thank
pretty
you.
much
I agree. I thought that evolution chart was pretty cool as well. And I think the seasonal aspect of it, either you need snow or you don't use, or you can do both. That wasn't clear. But the idea that this is, well, you know, 365 days a year is certainly a positive trait.
Well, there is an animation. I have a YouTube video of this presentation that does have an animation.
Got it.
So I understand that. And those are all good feedback. It's like, you know, yeah, people have their little things and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, Nelson, your job, entrepreneurs, right? We have these types of forums. There is lots of opportunities to practice pitches, and you will hear a ton of feedback. And often that feedback is going to like be directly contradictory to another. And it's your job. One of the hardest things as an entrepreneur is to sort of listen to everything with honesty and openness, and then figure out what resonates with you to better tell your story. I mean, that's like, an entrepreneur is a storyteller. So that is the hardest, most primary job that any entrepreneur is going to have, especially if they're looking to raise capital. So keep going, just keep going with it. This one, and come back to us. We've had lots of entrepreneurs, Sue included, that have come back and pitched again. So love to have you do that and keep attending and listening in.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Is it just the
absolutely.
two of us, me and Sue, or is anybody
It
else?
is just the two of you. We had some last minute cancellations, so we'll give everybody some time back in their day. But really appreciate you all joining. Miranda, great to see you. Thanks to you and SeedSpot for participating in Pitchmasters. And Sue and Nelson, please keep us up to date on your progress. And again, feel free to come back and apply again in 2025. Paul, Rod, you could join us. Thanks for all your great feedback. And Delorme, hopefully your dentist appointment is going well.
Oh, so we're not going to have one in December?
Yes, there's one in December. We're full for December, but you can apply for next year as well. Have a great holiday, everybody, too, since we won't be back until December.
likewise,
Happy
Lisa.
Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.